Deep in the rugged wilderness of New Hampshire lie the White Mountains, a place of breathtaking natural beauty, but also home to unexplained occurrences and spine-tingling legends that have been whispered around campfires for generations. From terrifying encounters with supernatural beasts lurking in the ancient forest, to reports of strange disappearances on the mountain trails, to sightings of mysterious apparitions inhabiting abandoned settlements, the White Mountains harbor dark secrets waiting to be unearthed. So join us as we venture into this haunted landscape to uncover just a few of the bizarre tales and eerie bits of folklore that have become woven into the very fabric of these ancient peaks and valleys. Prepare to delve into a realm where the supernatural and the paranormal meet, where the line of reality blurs and things become frighteningly uncertain. Are you brave enough to confront the strange tales from the White Mountains? Let's walk and see. Number 1. The hidden White Mountains Ghost Town. Located within the White Mountain National Forest lies a hidden ghost town that thrived in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, known for its bustling logging industry. Livermore, situated about 16 miles northwest of North Conway, New Hampshire, boasted typical small-town amenities such as a sawmill, a school, a town hall, and many homesteads. Its name was derived from Samuel Livermore, a New Hampshire senator who had family ties to the two Boston lawyers who first established the logging operation. With a population of between 160 to 200 lumberjacks and their families at its peak, Livermore's success was short-lived. Like many other logging towns in the area, it fell victim to deforestation, floods, fires, and eventually the closure of its mills in 1928. By the 1950s, Livermore had become a forgotten ghost town with only 2 permanent residents according to the 2020 census. For those curious enough to seek out this abandoned town, one must venture west on Route 302 into the White Mountain National Forest before turning onto Sawyer River Road. Signs for the Sawyer River Trail will lead hikers on a moderate 1.5-mile hike along an old dirt road through the woods. The journey may be challenging, but well worth it, as the remains of Livermore peek out from under fallen leaves and trees. Visitors may spot stone remnants, skeletal foundations, and brick structures that once made up this thriving community. It's a haunting thought to consider if one day your own hometown might become a ghost town as well. For safety reasons, we recommend parking at the lot located at the beginning of Sawyer River Road on Route 302. While driving further is possible if the gate is open, conditions may not be suitable for all drivers. Either way, a visit to Livermore is sure to give visitors an eerie feeling while also offering a unique glimpse into history. And now, to Crawford Notch, New Hampshire, and the tragic tale of Nancy Barton. Picture Crawford Notch in late autumn of 1778. The promise of snowy nights to come whispers through the wind that rushes through these mountain passes. At a property owned by Colonel Joseph Whipple in Jefferson, New Hampshire, 2 young employees have fallen deeply in love. Nancy Barton, a headstrong servant, and Jim Swindell, a farmhand. With plans to marry in mind, Nancy entrusted her dowry to Jim and traveled to Portsmouth to secure housing for their new life together. During her absence, however, Colonel Whipple convinced Jim to abandon his marriage plans and join the colonists fighting for independence from British rule. Now, upon learning of her fiancé's betrayal, Nancy raced back to Crawford Notch in hopes of stopping him. But when she arrived, she found that Jim and the Colonel had already taken off and had taken her dowry with them. Heartbroken but determined, Nancy ignored the advice of her neighbors to stay put and set off on foot with few possessions, following a 30-mile snowy trail in pursuit of the 2 men. After 20 miles, Nancy stumbled upon the remains of their campfire. Despite the freezing cold, she pushed onward until she came across a frozen brook. Driven mad by love and determination, Nancy attempted to cross the icy water, but fell in, soaking her skirts. Sadly, this mistake proved fatal for Nancy. Concerned neighbors who followed her footsteps later found her sitting on a rock by the edge of the brook, frozen to death. News of Nancy's tragic death drove Jim insane with guilt. Not long after, he passed away in a psychiatric hospital. Today, it's believed that Nancy's final resting place is high on a riverbank north of Nancy Brook. Her grave is marked by a simple pile of stones among tall trees. It's best to visit on a warm fall day when the leaves are falling and the sounds of Nancy Brook can be heard nearby. But don't venture into these woods alone. Hikers have reported hearing laughter, screams, and heart-wrenching crying in the woods along Nancy's Brook. Nancy's gravesite is located on private property belonging to the historic Notchland Inn, just off Route 302 in Crawford Notch. If you plan on visiting, please call ahead and ask for permission from the innkeepers. They're very knowledgeable about the history of the area and can give you directions to Nancy's grave, as well as a small graveyard on the property where other notable figures from the White Mountains are buried. The walk to Nancy's gravesite is less than a quarter mile through mild to moderate forest terrain, suitable for most adventurers. For those looking for a longer hike, you can choose to trek to Nancy Cascades, a roughly 4.9-mile round-trip journey ending at a picturesque waterfall. Please note that this option involves stream crossings and is only partially marked, so it may not be suitable for beginning hikers. Next, we have the story of the burning lamp at the Ruth Colbath House, Passaconaway, New Hampshire. As one of the most beautiful roads in the White Mountains, many travelers make their way along the Kankomagas Highway. Those passing through the once bustling town of Passaconaway, New Hampshire, may notice a lone structure standing amidst the surrounding woodland, the Ruth Colbath House. Built in 1832, this modest home is the only original building left in Passaconaway. Curious visitors wondering why it still stands deep within the White Mountain National Forest need not look any further than the tragic tale of Ruth Colbath. One fateful night in 1891, Ruth's husband Thomas set out from their farm to run some errands. However, he never returned that evening or even the next day. Weeks turned into months, and months turned into years with no sign of Thomas. For 39 long years, a devoted and anxious Ruth waited for her husband's return, placing a lit oil lamp in the window as a guide. Sadly, she passed away at the age of 80 in 1930, still waiting faithfully for her beloved spouse. Now, it wasn't until 3 years after her death that Thomas finally showed up with no explanation for his extended absence. Some speculate that he wandered off and got lost, while others believe he headed west to seek his fortune during the gold rush, although he was a little bit too late for that. Regardless of the reason, Ruth's unwavering dedication remains a testament to true love that possibly even reaches beyond the grave. On the property, there's a small cemetery where Ruth is laid to rest. If you wish to visit, you're reminded to tread softly and respectfully, and it would be wise to do so. There have been claims from passers-by on dark nights of seeing Ruth's lamp glowing in the window, trying to guide her husband Thomas back home. And there's even been reports of a ghostly figure seen staring out the window. The Ruth Colbath House can be found on the Kankomagas Highway, about 12 miles west of Passaconaway. Visitors can explore the grounds and cemetery all year round, and the half-mile ADA-friendly Rail and River Trail is also available. There's a $5 fee to park, which can be paid in cash on site, and the property is part of the National Register of Historic Places. Next, we have the haunting of the Omni Mount Washington Hotel in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. Now, the White Mountains has a rich history of grand resort hotels, one of which is the famous Omni Mount Washington Hotel. Its red roof and breathtaking view of Mount Washington makes it a sight to behold. Oh, the countless tales that can be shared by the many guests who have walked in its halls, sipped drinks on the veranda, and possibly encountered otherworldly beings. Built in 1902 by Joseph Stickney, the Mount Washington Hotel stands as a testament to his vision. Although he passed away shortly after its completion, his wife Carolyn continued to spend summers at the hotel. Carolyn eventually passed away at her home in Rhode Island, but since then, eerie occurrences have been reported by guests and employees surrounding her suite. Brave visitors who have stayed in room 314, also known as the Princess Room, have experienced strange phenomena such as lights flickering on and off, objects moving mysteriously, and catching whiffs of a sweet floral perfume in the middle of the night. The room still contains Carolyn's bed for guest use, and some have claimed to see the ghost of a woman sitting at its edge. While Carolyn may have never left her beloved hotel, she is said to be a friendly ghost who wants others to enjoy their stay as well. If you're interested in learning more about this hotel's history, ask the front desk about taking a guided tour. You may even hear about other spirits who call the Omni Mount Washington Hotel their eternal home. Now, we have the macabre history of the Willey House, also in Crawford Notch State Park, New Hampshire. Now, if you're traveling through Crawford Notch State Park, make sure to stop at the Willey House historic site for a bathroom break, some ice cream, or a great view of the immense rock walls on either side of the road. But next time, park and visit for a different reason. Near the stairs stands a small monument marking the tragic events that occurred on August 28, 1826. Ethan Crawford, a well-known figure in the region, purchased the Willey House, then known as the Old Notch House, in 1823, with plans to turn it into an inn for guests using his mountain guide services. Despite its location at the base of rocky cliffs and jumbles, Samuel Willey, his wife Polly, and their 5 children moved into the house in the fall of 1825. Surrounded by majestic peaks and breathtaking nature, one can imagine the Wileys living a peaceful but rugged life. However, life in the mountains is sometimes unpredictable. In June of 1826, a rock slide narrowly missed their home. Thankfully, they were unharmed, but luck was not on their side for long. On the night of August 28, 1826, a heavy rainstorm triggered another massive rock slide. The noise and vibrations woke up the Wileys and 2 hired hands who were staying with them. In fear, they fled from their home, but straight into the path of the slide. All 9 people were crushed to death under enormous rocks. In a strange twist of fate, the house itself was spared from destruction by the rock slide. The giant boulders had veered left and right above the house and then came back together below, continuing on their destructive path. The following day, neighbors, including Ethan Crawford, went to check on the house and found it abandoned with belongings scattered, indicating that everyone had left in a hurry. Over the next few days, they recovered 6 of the bodies, but 3 of the Willey children were never found and remain buried beneath the rocks to this day. Interestingly, this tragedy sparked an influx of visitors to the region, with artists like Thomas Cole and writers such as Nathaniel Hawthorne documenting the site of destruction. Crawford's homestead also suffered great damage during the storm, but thanks to the surge in tourism, he was able to repair his home and build a new notch house at the northern end of the notch. It opened for business in 1829. The Willey House came under new ownership in 1845 when Horace Fabian converted it into a 50-bed hotel. But eventually, a fire in 1899 and nature itself reclaimed the site of the devastation. Now all that remains is the marker and nearby Mount Willey, which is named after the lost family. During peak summer season, you can visit the Willey House Visitor Center in Crawford Notch State Park. However, all buildings are closed for the season starting on October 15. Check the New Hampshire State Park's website for updates and more information. The stone marker is accessible year-round. And now, a historic marker at the site of an alleged alien abduction in Lincoln, New Hampshire. On the evening of September 19, 1961, Betty and Barney Hill were returning home to Portsmouth, New Hampshire after a vacation in Montreal. As they drove south on Route 3, they both noticed a strange light in the sky that seemed to be following their car. Now, they eventually pulled over as the light got closer and an object began to take shape. The couple suddenly lost consciousness, and when they came to, they couldn't account for several hours of their journey. Years later, under hypnosis, they revealed details of being abducted by creatures aboard a UFO. This event sparked a fascination with aliens that continues to this day. Regardless of what you believe, their story remains one of the most intriguing tales of the White Mountains. Interested visitors can see the historic marker at the Indian Head Resort on Route 3 in Lincoln. And also, in Crawford Notch State Park, we have the Pet Cemetery. Just off the half-mile loop trail around Saco Lake in Crawford Notch State Park lies a small, unmarked pet cemetery. The exact origins of this somber spot are unknown, but is believed to have been started by locals who loved their furry companions and wanted to honor them in the great beyond. The cemetery is a peaceful place, surrounded by tall trees and the sounds of nature. It's not uncommon to see visitors taking a moment to pay their respects to these beloved pets. While it may seem eerie at first glance, the cemetery adds an element of mystery and wonder to this already beautiful area. After visiting the pet cemetery, it's recommended that you take a short hike up to Elephant Head or Mount Willard for stunning views of the surrounding mountains and valleys. For more outdoor recreation options in Crawford Notch, stop by the AMC Highland Center, just down the road from Saco Lake. The friendly staff can offer recommendations for hikes, scenic drives, and other activities in the area. Tell them Steve Stockton sent you. While you're there, don't forget to take some time to simply soak in the natural beauty of Crawford Notch State Park. With its rugged cliffs, cascading waterfalls, and abundant wildlife, it's no wonder this area has captured the hearts of visitors for centuries. As we wrap up this exploration of the mysterious and eerie places of New Hampshire, it's important to keep in mind that these are real locations that hold special significance for many people. Whether it's a place of historical importance, natural wonder, or just a spooky legend, these spots should be treated with the utmost respect and caution. If you do decide to visit any of these locations I've mentioned, remember to always follow proper etiquette. This includes obtaining permission before entering private property and being respectful of any rules or regulations at public sites. Some sites may be closed to visitors or have restricted areas, so make sure to obey any posted signs. Also, keep in mind that some of these places may be located in hard-to-reach remote or secluded areas. Always take precautions, such as dressing appropriately for the weather, bringing necessary supplies such as water and snacks, and letting someone know where you're going and when you plan on returning. Lastly, have fun exploring these rumored, haunted, and strange spots, but remember to leave no trace. Whether it's an abandoned building or a natural area, always clean up after yourself and preserve the environment for future visitors. Happy exploring. Well, friends, there you have it. What do you think of these strange places in the White Mountains of New Hampshire? I look forward to your comments, but please be friendly and respectful. If there's an area you'd like to see us cover, please mention it in the comments. In the meanwhile, be good to yourselves and each other. Stay safe out there. As for me, I'll see you a little further on down the trail. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'll talk to you next time. And please tell your pets I said hi.